Hi, this is Barry here, and you're very welcome to today's podcast episode from WriteCome.com. And today I thought we'd have a look at something that I seen recently on Netflix, and it gave me the idea for today's podcast episode. So today's podcast episode is Be More Like Bruce. Now you're probably wondering, what Bruce am I referring to? And I am referring to the great Bruce Springsteen. And recently I was playing around on Netflix, and I came upon Bruce's new show, Springsteen on Broadway. And in the show, if you haven't seen it before, Bruce basically goes through a whole catalogue of his songs, but he stops every so often and he does a little bit of, talking to the audience about how the song came about, and kind of giving you more about him, his growth, how he grew up and how he got into music and all those different things. So it's a really interesting show because it gives you another look into how he came about and how he came from the ideas in his songs. But the thing that surprised me, and probably shouldn't have, but it did when he said it, he opened the episode up with saying that he admitted that he's a fake. Now, there's many things you would say about Bruce Springsteen, all the records he's made and, all the concerts and everything he sold out. And, the last thing you would probably think about Bruce Springsteen is that he's some kind of fake. And yet he opened up and he said he was. And the reason he said he was a fake was because all the songs he's written about over the years, about, people slaving away in factories and blue-collar workers doing 9-to-5 jobs, and, the lifestyles that they have and all the problems and, all the different things that class of people have. He said, even though I wrote songs for those people, I've never actually done it. I've never worked in a factory. I've never worked a 9-to-5 job. He'd never lived in the lives of people who he sang about, and yet he wrote so many songs that hit a nerve with that audience, because he seemed to sum up their lives perfectly in his music, and those people latched onto him, and that's how his audience grew. And yet he's never been in that situation. He's never worked a 9-to-5 job. He's never slaved away on a production line, or whatever it is. He probably never got his hands dirty, other than packing up his guitar at the end of the night. And yet he could write songs that perfectly fitted that audience, and the lifestyles those people had. And yet it's all made up. And for a lot of us, when we're starting off, beginning, when maybe you want to be maybe a blogger, or maybe you want to be a children's picture book author, or whether you want to write adult fiction, for the very first time when you've done it, there's such a big gap between who you are to your end goal. If you've never written a picture book before, that goal seems too far away from you. It seems like something that somebody else could do, but not you. You've never written a blog before, and you're writing your very, very first blog post. You're looking at people who seem light years ahead of where you are, all these great bloggers, and to you, you haven't taken the first step. You feel like you're a fake. You feel like you're a fraud. When I got into writing adult fiction and romance, the last thing I thought was that I was the most romantic person in the world, and who am I to write fiction? I'm a man, and probably the majority of the audience of people who read romance fiction are women, so who am I to write to a female audience, and how can I write about romance when I wouldn't classify myself as being the most romantic person in the world? And you're going to be in the same situation too. You're going to think that you're a fake, and because of that, then you probably maybe are a bit hesitant to taking those first steps. You're probably hesitant about writing a romance book, or a children's book, or a blog, or doing some kind of writing, because you feel a fake and a fraud. That how can you write about something maybe a romance book maybe that happened years ago, like The Mail Order Bride. Like, I used to write about brides traveling all across America to meet their husbands, and I live in Ireland, and that is the furthest away from, and again then too, I'm going back to historical times as well too. I'm going back to a time that I never grew up in. So to do that, you've got to get over that kind of the first hurdle of who am I to do that? Can I really fake this? And I'm telling you that you can, just like Bruce Springsteen faking that, he did those blue collar jobs. You can be the same too. You can, convince somebody that your book is worth reading, but you've got to get the courage up. You've got to take the first step, when it comes to writing fiction. Even though maybe you're never going to go into space, even though maybe you're never going to go back in time, maybe you're never going to run away with a millionaire, or all those different things that your book could be on, you've got to put yourself in your character's shoes. You've got to look at it from their point of view. You've got to look at their life through their eyes. What do they see every day? What problems are they going through? What are their needs? What would their goals, and all those different things. And you've got to put yourself in their shoes. The same then too if you're writing a blog. You've got to put yourself in your audience shoes. For example, if you're writing a weight loss blog, you've got to, to put yourself to one side and put yourself into your audience shoes. If you were a fat person waking up and, the obesity was, slowly eating away at you, how would you feel? What's the first thought you would have when you get out in the morning? What's the first thought you'd have when you see somebody, on maybe a billboard or something like that, of a slim model or something like that? Or how do you feel when you go to the fridge? How do you feel when you stand in front of the mirror? How do you feel? Or my example, maybe if you were writing maybe something like, for example, if I was doing maybe this writing blog here, how would I feel if this was going to be my first book? How would I feel if, and you've got to put yourself to one side and put yourself in your audience shoes. What's the things they think about every day? What are their fears? What are their hopes? What are their biggest problems? And you've got to put yourself in their shoes, and you've got to fake it until you make it, because eventually, people are going to look at you when you've written, maybe 100 weight loss articles or 100 articles on writing or whatever it is, or your romance or whatever, and they're going to see you as that romance author. They're going to see you as that weight loss blogger. They're going to see you as somebody who can help them with their writing. But in the beginning, you're going to have to fake it until you make it, and the easiest way to fake it until you make it is to put yourself in your audience shoes. Look at their life through their eyes. What's the biggest problems? All those different things. Ask yourself the question. You can get a pen and paper and sit down and write it out. And when you put yourself in their, in their situation, close your eyes and visualize what that person does every day. What's holding them back? What could help them? What are their doubts and their fears and all those different things. And when you do that and write to that person, you're going to find you're going to build an audience, just like Bruce Springsteen did by releasing those songs to that kind of blue collar audience. So the moral of the story is, if Bruce can fake it and make a success of himself, there is no reason why you can't be a fraud too, and fake it till you make it as well too. Just put yourself into your audience shoes and live their life in your writing, and you're going to find that your success, and you'll find your audience will come to you because of it, even though maybe you've never been in those situations yourself. So as always, I thank you for sharing your time with me again today on the WriteCome podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, or it gave you something to think about, and maybe you want to share it with somebody else, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit any of the social media buttons close by and share this episode with somebody else. And as always, you're very welcome to come over to the WriteCome blog. We have a load of content over here that I'm sure you can spend a while reading through and learning some things from myself. Now, to find the WriteCome blog, if you just come over to WriteCome.com, you'll find all the content, and you'll find our store over here, which has a lot of reports and training courses that will help you with your writing and your promotion work. So again, thanks for your time today, and take care and have a great day. Bye bye.